Of the night and all the pressure in the world on the Cleveland Browns. The spotlight on the #1 overall picks. Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, they're ready to go. First quarter, Browns down 3-0. Second and 4 from the 11. Get used to hearing Nick Chubb right up the middle. 22 carries for Chubb on the night. 2 touchdowns. There's the first. He would run for $124. Second quarter, Browns with the ball at the 43. Mayfield rolling. They said get him out in space. He did. They said throw it to Odell. He did. 43 yards and a touchdown. Take another look. He is in for the score. A 43-yard score, the first of the season for Odell Beckham. He had 4 catches, 74 yards. Browns up 14-3. Still in the second. Still the same score. Bengals, and watch the nice throw and the great route from the tight end, C.J. Uzomah. Up the sideline, and he's in. That's Burrow's first career touchdown pass, and LeBron, among those watching, tweeting, Burrow is special. He has it for sure. Praise from the king. Bengals within 4. Later in the second, Baker looking for an answer. Third and goal from the 7. Kareem Hunt. How does he get so open? 21-10 in favor of the Browns. Third quarter now. Bengals down 21-13. They've got a 3rd and 9 from the 12. And we talked about the #1 overall picks. How about another one? Myles Garrett. He's in on Burrow and the strip. Take another look at a great play by Garrett. Around the edge. That's #1 versus #1 overall, and Garrett gets the best of that. Burrow very much takes the worst. Fourth quarter now. Browns driving up 12, looking to put it away. Is Baker Mayfield. The one thing he can't do is throw an interception. The one thing he can't do is throw an interception. William Jackson III with the pick. Baker 16 of 23, 219, 2 touchdowns, and that pick. So Burrow takes the Bengals down the field. First and goal. Looking for Mike Thomas. Yes, 28-23. Burrow 37 of 61. Both those the most for a rookie since 2001. 4 minutes to go. Browns trying to ice it. The Bengals just couldn't stop the running game. This is Kareem Hunt. The Browns would run it for 215 yards. Hunt would score on the next play, and the Browns get a win they desperately need. 35-30.
I think that's going to build confidence for us and us playing complementary football with the defense. It's, you know, that's the scary part is if we start clicking and keep getting better, it is going to be a fun ride.
Losing isn't very fun. You know, this might be the only time in my sporting career that I've lost 2 games in a row. Doesn't feel very good.
Again, Burrow, an impressive performance, but not enough. And Baker Mayfield, he's had some inconsistencies, and he's continually fared well when defenses send pressure. Since he came into the league, he has 24 touchdowns against the blitz. That's second most behind Russell Wilson. He added 2 more last night, so he handled that well. Let's take a look at the football crew we've put together for you on this Football Friday. Here we go. Ryan Clark, Patrick McAfee is back, and he looks excited. Diana Rossini is with us this morning. Good morning, all of you guys. And Patrick, since you're so excited, I will start with you. Baker Mayfield needed this game last night. What did you see from him? What should the fans come away thinking from the way he played last night?
Well, thank you for having me back. It is my honor to be joining this eclectic crew of human beings that we're going to talk this morning. I think Baker Mayfield needed this game last night in a bad way. National television, obviously, with the thought of him potentially being the quarterback of the future or not for the Browns. But what I saw to Baker Mayfield, not only him moving out of the pocket, he looked like he had his swag back like he had at Oklahoma, but this is his 4th offensive coordinator. He connected with Odell Beckham a couple of times, but if you look at what Andrew Berry has done for the Cleveland Browns for them, he's invested in that running game. He's got Jack Conklin coming in from the Tennessee Titans, who had the leading rusher last year in Derrick Henry. He brought in Austin Hooper, which is a road grader tight end for him. Obviously, you have Kareem Hunt and Chubb in the backfield, 2 of which have been leading rushers in the NFL at one point. So I think with that type of offense being around Baker, it kind of opens him up a little bit more with the play action, with a little bit more letting him not carry the burden of the entire team on his shoulders. And I think that is why Baker Mayfield was successful last night. And I think that is why Baker Mayfield could be successful moving forward and the Browns quarterback for some time to come.
Yeah, so RC, he threw it for 219. They ran it for 215. That's obviously a recipe for success for anyone. What did you see from Baker?
Yeah.
How much confidence do you take from what we saw last night?
Well, obviously, Kevin Stefanski woke up yesterday feeling very dangerous because he did the things for Baker Mayfield that you needed. He got him outside of the pocket early. He gave him some easy throws. The double move to Odell Beckham Jr. was a clear throw. There was no one right in the face of Baker Mayfield because he got him out on the boot. It was a Kyle Shanahan, Gary Kubiak, Mike Shanahan type performance from Kevin Stefanski, and that's why he was brought there. He was brought there to give Baker some of those looks he got at OU, some of those things that Lincoln Riley was able to scheme up for him, and we saw that. And when Baker gets going, and this is in no way an indictment on Baker or a negative about him, but he's a front runner, and not a front runner in a negative way. But when things get to going good, and when he's fired up, and when he has some of that swag, like you heard Pat talk about earlier, that's when he's his best. When he's feeling good, enjoying it, having a great time, not having to think too much, not having some of those negative thoughts creep up on the sideline. That's what we saw last night. We saw a Baker Mayfield that had fun, a Baker Mayfield that wasn't under duress the entire night. They took some things off of him with the run game as well. This is the way that this team has to play football, not throw it 30 or 40 times and continue to put the ball in the air or put the ball on Baker Mayfield. It's to have ball control and then hit the big plays with your explosive receivers later on in the game or through play action.
Fair. But, RC, let's talk about your LSU buddy there and Odell Beckham. I never thought I would find myself saying, we had a pretty good night, 4 catches for 74 yards. That's not Odell. Is he getting back on track? RC, what do you see from him last night?
Listen, I'm going to say this. Kevin Stefanski said that Odell Beckham Jr. has the most bounce of any player that he's ever been around. And that's special when you think about some of the other players that he has coached with. Odell Beckham has not gone away. The talent that he is has not diminished. It's just been about getting him the ball in the areas that he can play. This is what I'll say. There were 2 more routes last night where Odell Beckham Jr. had his cornerback beat or had his man-to-man coverage beat. Do you know why Baker Mayfield couldn't throw that ball? Because the safety slid to Odell Beckham Jr. Even with all the weapons on that team, he is still the focal point of each defense. So 4 catches and 70-something yards and 1 touchdown might be good nights for Odell Beckham, but there were no drops, there was no confusion, and there seemed to be no attitude at all from Odell Beckham Jr. because they tried to get him involved. He's a great player. He's going to play great when he has his opportunities.
So, Diana, let's talk about that. Aaron Goldhammer, a Cleveland radio talk show host, was on with KJZ across the hall earlier this morning suggesting that OBJ could still be traded. From what you know, would you be shocked if that happened?
You asked the question, will you be shocked? I was sitting in the green room with Chris Mortensen when the New York Giants traded Odell Beckham Jr., and that was perhaps one of the most shocking moments I've ever had as a reporter because we knew that the Giants at that time had paid him, they'd given him the contract, and we weren't getting a sense. But the reality in Cleveland right now, I can tell you that during the offseason, there were definitely serious conversations in the organization about perhaps looking at the option of trading Odell Beckham Jr. Everything Brian Clark just pointed to in terms of the talent, the mentality, and obviously Odell Beckham Jr. being a fan favorite in Cleveland, that is all true. But he is not one of those players in this league that is untradeable. Will the Cleveland Browns always be willing to listen to offers from other teams if they're interested in? Yes. This is not something that has been taken off the table, despite the fact that we saw a performance last night with him and Baker Mayfield that could be absolutely magical if they can continue this throughout this season.
All right, so they get it to 1-1 where they need it to be. Let's talk about the other quarterback in this game, McAfee. Joe Burrow, 0-2, but at least through my eyes, he's shown himself pretty well. He played well against a good defense in week 1, and last night they asked him to throw it 61 times, and he almost wins the game for him. What have you seen so far from the #1 pick?
I think the thing about Joe Burrow, even whenever you look back at LSU, is he's always just so cool. You got to remember, going into his senior year, he was projected as a 5th-round draft pick. Then he has the greatest collegiate quarterback season in the history of college football and goes to the #1 overall pick. Wins the Heisman, wins the national championship. You saw him smoking the cigar in the locker room. I mean, it just feels like there's never a moment that's too big for Joe Burrow. 4th quarter, opening week, let me drive my team down. Offensive pass interference kind of stunts a game-winning drive in my first ever game in the NFL. Then the worst cramp in the history of sports happens to Randy Bullock, and he misses the kick. And then last night, there was a lot of things that happened where Joe Burrow and that Cincinnati Bengals team could have curled up and kind of went home. But instead, Joe Burrow answered every single time. He answered the bell. He's obviously an athlete. He made all the plays that he possibly could want to make. I think there's a lot of hope in Cincinnati for Joe Burrow. I think putting 61 passes on that arm in his second ever game is insane. I think the defense has to pick it up for him as well, but I think the future is very bright in Cincinnati with old Joey B.
RC?
All felines are not created the same, Joe.